Welcome to your Inspirational Astrology Horoscope for the weekend of May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 2014. I am Astrologer David Palmer, the Leo King, here to illuminate the collective consciousness. Well, on Friday afternoon, you can download my May 2014 webinar where I spent 2 hours going over the whole month and why our engines are going to start. Check out my website, inclusiveiastrology.com, if you want to download the webinar. Also, if you want to join me to my retreat that's going to be in July, check out my website, leokingevents.com. And we have an excellent weekend. There's a lot of energy shifting, lots of emotions, and getting to the bottom of a lot of things that we want. It's going to be interesting on Friday. We're going to have the moon in Gemini as it's going to be real stimulated still. Lots of questions, things to figure out, and there's a lot of pondering. And especially as the moon is going to square Venus, which is getting ready to hump into Aries Friday night into Saturday. So there's going to be lots of questions, I think, lots of emotions in our partnerships, in our plans, as we're really feeling this energy about to shift intensely. We know something's coming. It's like, one thing about Venus and Pisces is, sure, it brought up lots of great, higher dimensional, spiritual signs, but it also can be really confusing. Venus is going to move into Aries this weekend where we need to start just to demand what we want, know what we want, and when it comes to the relationships, whoo, this is really going to determine what, are you identifying correctly in your relationships? Do you know what you want? And we're going to talk lots more about this, but this is definitely a big weekend. When Venus comes into Aries, you feel it. There's a fire. Things kickstart in our lives. Projects kickstart. Relationships start to get direction courses. Like everything starts to shift. And I think Friday, it's so interesting. Mercury is going to be opposing Saturn at the same time. So there are lots of questions. And are we doing the right thing? Are we picking the right things in our life? We just had a Sun quincunx Mars over this week. So all this pressure on actions. And I think this weekend finally gives us this mobility of wow, we do have questions. Is everything we're manifesting in our truth? We have emotions that are around relationships that are about to go into big shifts. Where's this all turning here? It's almost like we have no idea. It's confusing. It's exciting. It's woo, who knows? That's Venus when it moves out of Pisces into Aries. It just comes out of the dumps. Not literally the dumps. That's one way to look at it. And comes out, but it does come out of the darkness and kind of comes into the light. It's just like wham and fire. And it's interesting because then the moon moves into Cancer for the rest of this weekend where there's a lot of emotions to feel. And it's going to come in the middle of this cardinal cross. It's going to come over Jupiter. So there's a lot of energy right now on really getting to the bottom of how we're feeling. This is also a weekend where the sun is going to trine over to Pluto. So the universe is trying to start all these new things. It's almost like everything's going to get thrown under the table. We got these new starts that are going to come. And the universe is kind of putting us in this real rebooted zone. There's been a lot, I think, that is cleared. But now there's a lot of things to look at. Maybe there's some commitments that you need to make. That's Sun trine Pluto, as commitments are important. The actions in our life that we want to manifest, they've got to be on point with our destiny. That's one thing. If we're going to build the best life, we need to be rooted in the right place. That's where the moon's going to be this weekend. It's going to let you know how you really feel. As the moon will come into pressures, as it'll square Uranus, it's like, well, are we rooted in a place that allows me to be this character I want to be? Maybe I'm putting my emotions in a place in relationships and projects and energies that just aren't mirroring who I really am. Especially when Venus comes into Aries this weekend, it's like, dun, 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 I know what I want. It's just woo. And that's why Venus doesn't do too well in Aries, because Venus is a sign of compassion and peace and, oh, let's both do it. But when it's in Aries, it's like, sorry, we can't do this. I need this. And yes, it deals with ego. Ego is not the worst thing in the world. Yes, it can be very, very bad. But we also need to determine what we want in our lives. And we do have a south node here, and we have a north node in Libra. So these are weird paradigms where we must understand ourselves correctly to even get in the right kind of partnerships. Even though we're aiming towards peace, there's a lot of work in our shell, a lot of work in what we identify with, a lot of work in purging, I think, an old self. There's a lot of that happening right now in our lives. And this is one of those weekends that a moon in Cancer and a sun in Taurus really shows you, are you feeling the right way? Are you nesting in the right areas? Are you putting your energy in the right spot? Because this could be a weekend where maybe laziness takes over. I'll be honest, whenever a moon comes into Cancer and a sun in Taurus, woo! There's definitely a little bit of laziness on the plate. There's definitely a little bit of let's just relax. Let's just chill out here. But Venus in Aries might start demanding, well, we got to make this happen. We got to do this. We need to create this. And that kind of can be like stumbling in the background. Like, okay, yeah, I do got this. I got this to do, you know. So this is definitely a really positive weekend. The only pressures might be, you know, on Saturday as the moon comes in the cardinal cross and squares, opposes everything, and really maybe there's pressure to feel the right energy. Maybe you need to go in your feelings this weekend. Maybe you need to really see how you really feel, if you're really in the best energy for the right feelings. One thing about Taurus is it's going to show you, especially as it's trines over to Pluto, like, are you really in your destiny? Are you really in the right plans? Are you really right in the right energy that's going to take you to the right road? There's so much energy that's brewing right now because the universe is trying to get us in the right spots. Because coming here in May, in the next couple weeks when Mars goes direct, I'm telling you, there's a huge power punch of energy with Mars coming forward after it's been in all this cross. So I'm sure you can start to feel there's some huge things coming up here this month and into June and July. And right now, we've got to really make sure we're vibing right. We're getting things organized right. We're getting in our groove. So the card of the weekend is, wow, the Knight of Swords reversed. Like, I keep pulling up cards that we've had before. You know, maybe there's so much things that stir. One thing about a reverse Knight of Swords is like, be a little careful, like don't go too crazy. But the other part of this, it's like, you know what, maybe you need to bring in that alive energy. There's a lot of questions, there's a lot. This is also a man on his horse coming to the rescue, you know, like da-ba-da-bop. Like maybe there's things in our life we need to rescue, that we need to save. This is also, I mean, a very intellectual card, but there's a lot of feeling behind it. The Knight of Swords, he's going for it. And maybe there's a lot of things in our life, especially as Venus comes in Aries, that we want to go for, that we want to manifest, that we want to do. You know, you know, it's totally Venus in Aries. This definitely is Venus in Aries. But Mercury, as it opposes Saturn, it wants us to make one little time out. Mercury and Saturn don't get along well. Mercury's really fast, like the Knight of Swords, okay? And Saturn is like the slowest dog on the planet. So you have to see that when Mercury opposes this, we have to take our time for one big pause this weekend and really go, man, am I doing the right thing here? In whichever direction that is. That's going to be up to you, whether it's in your best energy, how your feelings are operating. So this is a weekend where, yes, there's a lot of things to move in, but there's definitely a pause to take, make sure it's all right, and then start to jackhammer into it. And that's what I'm starting to see, especially as this is all going to be about Mars. Mars is getting now close to where it's going to go stationary direct. So this is one of those last weekends of a lot of like, get things moving, get things flowing, step into your truth, because Mercury is going to oppose Saturn. And in order for you to manifest the right things, you got to be deep in your truth, you know. But this is going to be a really powerful weekend, especially in relationships. As the moon squares it, we're going to have Venus come into Aries, and we're also going to be ready for Mercury next week, which is going to leave Taurus and come into Gemini. So lots of stimulation, lots of things starting to happen. Our plates are starting to get, you know, relieved here a little bit, and we're starting to be able to move around. It's whether or not we're truly sitting in the right energy. Check out my website, inclusiveastrology.com, if you have any questions or if you want to have a one-on-one reading. Thank you so much for all of your support, and I will see you on Monday.